Welcome to Crime Stoppers. I'm your host, Chip Brown. Heartland Crime Stoppers is a community-based program designed to help law enforcement solve crimes by providing a way for the public to phone in tips anonymously and receive cash rewards of up to $3,000 for information that leads to an arrest, the recovery of stolen property, or the recovery of illegal drugs. Heartland Crime Stoppers is funded through the State of Florida Office of the Attorney General, Crime Stoppers Trust Fund, and through donations from the community. Citizens and local businesses make Crime Stoppers work. On today's show, we will talk with Barb Bergin. Barb is the executive director of the Central Florida Crime Line, which covers 6 counties with a population of more than 2.9 million people. Crime Line averages more than 11,000 tips a year, so they stay awfully busy. Barb, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, tell us first a little bit before we get into Crime Line, a little bit about yourself, and understand you have an interesting background of how you got into law enforcement.
Well, let's just say that I didn't have this, as growing up as a child, this wasn't my future that I saw for myself. I was born and raised in Colorado, and one day threw everything I owned in the back of a 240Z. And as you know, not much fits, including a set of golf clubs that came with me, and I moved to Florida. I got down here and loved the environment and the weather and stuff like that. Coming from Colorado, I was outside constantly here, and I got into the business of landscaping and working for a guy, and he made me mad one day. And I remember this, it's like it was yesterday. I'm driving down I-4, I'm mad at my boss, and I hear the Orlando Police Department's taking applications for police officers. And I'm like, well, maybe I can do that. I go get the application, it's 100 pages long, and I'm like, nah, this really probably isn't for me. I get mad at him again and then fill out the application, and there started a career of 25 and a half years with Orlando PD. I spent 10 and a half of those years in homicide and actually used Crime Stopper tips or Crime Line tips to solve cases.
Yeah, it's really amazing, since I've been involved in it just 5 years myself, how these tips come in and just really are so valuable, especially as an investigator.
Right.
And many times that's the piece that puts the case together.
You know, what you know is with your law enforcement background, but you're sitting there with a homicide case and you've worked on it for weeks, maybe months, who knows. You're dealing with the family every day. You're dealing with the media saying, why isn't this case solved? And we're like, you know, we've exhausted every lead we had, and you come to work one day and all of a sudden there's a piece of paper sitting on your desk and it's from the Crime Line program, and this tip literally starts or breathes new life into where you were, and you start following the leads and there's a positive resolution at the end. I can't even hardly explain how that feels to be able to go back to that family and say, someone in this community, we don't know who, provided us information and it solved this case. So from there you get this passion, and then you start leaning on them a little more. I don't know the number of cases I solved with tips, but there were many of them in my 10 and a half years. So I had a great passion for it on that side of it. And I left homicide because I wanted to get out from underneath subpoenas. As you know, they can linger a long time in homicide world. So I left those and I put in for the position of law enforcement coordinator. So the Orlando Police Department donates a person to the Crime Stopper program. And I worked that job for many years, and the executive director's job came open and I applied and started that job the day after I retired from Orlando PD.
Now, as a law enforcement coordinator, as a representative from OPD, what was your job as a coordinator back then?
Well, back then it was to make sure the relationship between law enforcement and the Crime Line program worked, that we educated detectives. That becomes sort of a daily ongoing education thing.
Indeed, Indeed it does.
You know, getting dispositions back from law enforcement is really, really important. Our citizens call in tips to us, and they see the drug team come in and make an arrest, and they're like, okay, where's my money, where's my money? Well, until you get a disposition back from your law enforcement and you confirm that in fact that tip helped solve that crime, you can't pay them a reward. So we're chasing dispositions constantly. And then in the world of law enforcement, it's a great job to have. So if anybody out there's thinking about it, I would encourage you to do it, because you know, you can pet dogs for a living, you can ride horses, motorcycles, and all those things. But internally, people are transferring and moving and getting promoted and retiring and stuff. So you constantly have new faces as detectives, and you have to educate them. You have to tell them how a tip works, what they can and can't do, and what we can and can't do as a program, and then how important dispositions become in order to make a reward, eligible to the community member.
Yeah, I gotta say those tips are just invaluable, and you're always hoping and praying that the one tip's gonna come in. I know in one particular case, we had a home invasion robbery homicide up in the Davenport area, and we had a $10,000 reward that the sheriff had enhanced, and we were getting nowhere with it. We reached out to you, the crime line. You helped us advertise that, and it was shortly after that we got that one tip that identified the car and tracked it down.
You know, it is amazing. In some cases you'll get, well, I'll just throw out there the Kaylee Anthony case. We were the lead phone number for the Kaylee Anthony case, and we took 4,500 tips in that case.
That's amazing.
It is. So that reward stayed at 5,000. But back up a couple of years where we had an Orlando police officer off duty getting some money out of an ATM in his own personal car, that reward was enhanced to $50,000, and we only took 16 tips in that case. But we solved that case in 48 hours with one tip.
Yeah, and that's just the beauty of Crime Stoppers. It's anonymous. People want to get involved, but sometimes people are afraid to get involved for the various reasons. They're afraid of being identified, retribution, not wanting to be labeled, as someone that tattletales, if you will, or being a snitch. And some people just don't want to have to go to court to testify and all that drawn out stuff. And it makes it a little bit hard for law enforcement, for the detective to actually make that case, because you can't have that witness. But without that information, there'd be nothing.
Well, I liken it. I was speaking last night to the Orange County Sheriff's Office Citizens Academy, and to that group I say, our number one tip in Central Florida is about drugs, and I'm assuming it's the same thing for you guys.
Yes.
It is across the country. So our number one tip is about drugs. And that is because we have citizens who are living in their homes, and just in their neighborhood, they're seeing constant traffic. They're seeing hand-to-hand transactions. And I liken it to this. That's not a Mary Kay salesperson. It's probably a Mary Jane salesperson.
Exactly.
So you need to report that. Now, do you want to call a uniformed officer over to your house and stand in your front yard and point at that house and say, I think that's a drug house? No. Why would you do that? Instead, you close your doors, you either go online, go to your mobile phone or make the tip, or you call us and you give us the information. It's going to take a while for a drug tip to get worked. Those aren't instant. But why not do that in the cloak of your own home, where you don't have to give a statement and get involved, like you said, in the court system? I don't like getting subpoenas, so I don't blame the public for not wanting to be involved in it.
Yeah, it can be a long, drawn-out process. It's a very important process, the freedom that we have as Americans. But there is certainly that option, and it was very fortunate to have Crime Stoppers to be able to do that. So.
Without a doubt, I don't know that we could ever highlight all the cases that we've been involved in and having a positive resolution. And one of the things when I speak publicly, I could go on and talk for days with you about this. But that's the side that the community doesn't get to see what we do every day. Newscast comes out and it says there's been a robbery at whatever store. Here's the picture of the bad guy. Please call Crime Line if you know anything about this. And then tips come in and we solve it. There's just not enough time. There's not much interest in the media of saying, thanks to the community for the tips that you gave us in solving the case. Law enforcement does their best in their press releases. Unfortunately, the community really doesn't know what you and I get to see every single day, the great successes, the amount of drugs we take off the street, the bad guys that are caught, and all of those good things.
Now, as I was looking at your stats, last year you had, $3-point-something million in recovered drugs.
It's crazy, isn't it? We're taking down grow houses, and that's another thing. You talk to the community and you say, here's what you look for. If they've blacked out all the windows and they're literally not living there and they're probably stealing power and they only stop by once a week, there's a real good chance you have a grow house sitting right in your community. And at some point when the plants get real big, you actually smell the marijuana coming from the house. So those grow houses. But Chip, what's really cool about the business we're in is it can be a single tip that has 2 sentences in it. And when we were taking text tips, now we don't do that, we take mobile tips with the mobile app. But when we were taking text tips, we had one tip that came in and it said, if you call this guy at this cell phone number, he'll sell you some pills. And it led to the seizure of like 1,000 pills and 3 arrests and a gun coming off the street. And it was 2 or 3 sentences, just that simple.
Just a simple text.
Yes.
Somebody taking, what, 30 seconds?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, so, and eligible for a cash reward from that.
Yep, that's the beautiful thing. We don't ask for ID. You don't have to sign anything. You go into, with us, you go into the banks that you choose, a bank that you choose out of our list. And we never share, and I always like to make this known to the community, we do not share with law enforcement what bank, what date and time, any of that stuff on the collection of the rewards.
You can't do that,
is
no.
maintained within the program and is not a public document for the protection and the continued anonymity of tipsters.
Yeah, again, that is the backbone of our business, is to make sure that these tipsters are protected, the good guys stay good, and the bad guys go to jail.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes that's a struggle with law enforcement. I can tell you that as a young homicide detective, I'd look at a tip and I'd go, well, this person witnessed my murder. I have to talk to him. And I'd be sitting in the crime line office every day. Come on, just let me talk to him. Just let me talk to him. And you know how that goes.
Same thing, exactly.
And the bottom line is, Barb, get out of our office. We've given you what you need. Now go work that tip. And I'm in that same boat now with detectives saying, I can't. We're not going to give you the tipster. No. We can't get them. We're not going to ask them to call you. The bottom line is, go do your work as a detective and solve this case. We've got you started down the correct road. Yeah. And it's frustrating as a detective because you do want that witness.
Yeah. Well, I say 10 years in homicide, that's a great experience, I think, to draw on in your time in sex crimes. Now, Crime Line covers
6 counties.
What, 6 counties. Which ones do they cover?
We are almost beach to beach. We start in Sumter County. We come over to Seminole, Orange, Osceola, Brevard, and Lake. So we cover, there's 2.9 million people living in our service area right now.
Plus the tourist.
Yeah, all those people, and we like them. We want them to come. We want to make sure we keep crime down, but we have a lot of transient people coming in and out of, well, you have it down here. There's people coming into Central Florida constantly. So it's probably one of the reasons that we take as many tips as we have, but I believe this, for 40 years, 39 right now, we have promised our community there will be complete anonymity, and we have maintained that, and I would challenge anybody to give me a case where we've identified a tipster, because we just don't do it.
So important.
And that is exactly that. It is why we exist.
Barb, we're going to come back in just a moment to talk some more with you, but right now we're going to take a quick break and profile some of our cases.
Thank you.
Crime Stoppers provides a way for local law enforcement to receive information on crimes while keeping the people providing that information anonymous. These efforts increase tips, which in turn solve more crimes and identify criminals in our community. Here's a look at some of our most recent cases.
Do you know who killed Eric Ackerman? An $8,000 cash reward is being offered by the Polk County Sheriff's Office and Heartland Crime Stoppers for the anonymous tip leading to the arrest of the persons responsible for the murder. Around 11:30 p.m., Monday, May 2nd, 2016, Polk County Sheriff's Office responded to 2236 Everett Street in Lakeland in reference to a shooting. The victim, 33-year-old Eric Dante Ackerman, who lives there, called 911 and said that he had been shot. Anyone with information who wants to remain anonymous and be eligible for a cash reward is asked to call Heartland Crime Stoppers at 800-226-TIPS. The Lakeland Police Department needs your help in identifying this suspect of a grand theft that occurred within the city limits of Lakeland. If you have any information about the suspect of this crime, please call Heartland Crime Stoppers at 800-226-TIPS. During the weekend of May 21st and May 22nd, 2016, numerous locks of doors and gates at the Auburndale High School campus were damaged by epoxy glue. School video showed 2 white males causing the damage. One male had a ball cap, long pants, and light-colored tennis shoes. The other suspect had a light-colored hoodie. He also had some type of covering on his face. If you have any knowledge or information about this case, please contact Heartland Crime Stoppers, and you could be eligible for a $1,000 reward. Polk County Sheriff's Office detectives are asking for the public's help in a petty theft investigation. On Friday, May 20th, 2016, a victim reported her wallet being stolen while shopping at Michael's Craft Store located at 1600 Posner Boulevard in Davenport. The victim said she was distracted by a black female and believes there was another black female in the store. The second black female is believed to have taken the victim's wallet from her purse. The victim's credit cards were then used at two separate Walgreens locations in Haines City and Davenport. The two women believed to be the suspects were captured on video surveillance and seen in a newer model gray car, possibly a Nissan Sentra. Anyone with information who wants to remain anonymous and be eligible for a cash reward is asked to call Heartland Crime Stoppers at 800-226-TIPS. The Lakeland Police Department needs your help in identifying the above pictured suspects of fraud that occurred within the city limits of Lakeland. If you can identify these suspects, please contact Heartland Crime Stoppers at 800-226-TIPS. That's 8477. Lakeland Police need your help in identifying the suspects and locate the above pictured stolen 2006 Peterbilt truck. The theft occurred within the city limits of Lakeland. If you have any information on suspects or the crime, or know the whereabouts of this stolen truck, contact 800-226-TIPS or go to heartlandcrimestoppers.com and click on the Give a Tip tab. The Winter Haven Police Department wants to know if you know this man who found a wallet on the floor and does the wrong thing. On May 16, 2016, at 7:40 in the morning, the victim was getting water at the water vending machine in the vestibule area of Publix at 1395 6th Street Northwest when he unknowingly dropped his wallet. Once the victim realized his wallet was gone, he returned to the Publix, but the wallet had not been turned in. Video shows the pictured man at the area of the machines following the victim departing the store. The pictured man scooped up the wallet and left. Anyone who recognizes this man is asked to call Heartland Crime Stoppers at 800-226-TIPS. That's 8477.
Welcome back to Crime Stoppers. I'm your host, Chip Brown. The vision statement for Crime Stoppers USA is to establish Crime Stoppers as a premier community-based crime-solving program in the United States. Joining us in the studio is Vice President of that group, Barb Bergin. Barb, thank you for joining us again.
Appreciate it.
Now, we talked about Crime Stoppers USA, but there's also a state agency, the Florida Association of Crime Stoppers, and you're very active in that group as well.
Yes, well, we have to be, because in order to receive our grant, we have to be in good standing with the Florida Association of Crime Stoppers. But it's invaluable what you can learn from other Crime Stopper programs. And I don't know about you, Chip, and I know you come to the conferences and stuff. When we get a bunch of Crime Stopper groups together, whether it be over dinner or breakfast in the morning, the networking that you receive being a part of this group and learning from another program. And you and I talk on the phone pretty regularly, and you're like, hey Barb, what about this? And I'll call you and say, Chip, you got anything down there like this? Or it's just that we're in the same business, and there's a limited number of people you can talk to. So being a part of an organization, whether it be the Florida Association of Crime Stoppers or CSUSA, is invaluable. Plus the training that's provided at all of the conferences is wonderful.
Crime Stoppers USA's big anniversary, and also for Crime Line.
It is. So Crime Line will be celebrating our 40th anniversary next year in the summertime. Crime Stoppers USA, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of the first case, if you will, of what started Crime Stoppers as we know it, the documentation of it. A guy named Greg McAleese was a young detective with Albuquerque Police Department, and he caught a homicide where a college student had been shot and killed in a robbery at a gas station. And for a couple of weeks, it was going nowhere. There were no tips, there were no leads, and he was getting frustrated. And you know, the media's asking, what are we doing here? How can we make this better? And he went to his chief and he said, Chief, you know, maybe we could do a reenactment with the media to kind of get it back out in the forefront with the media again, and maybe offer a reward in anonymity. And as crazy as it sounds, Greg McAlee slept at his desk because that was the only phone number they had 40 years ago. And he stayed at his desk for a couple of days. And ultimately, they took a call that identified and gave information about a unique car that was seen leaving the area at a high rate of speed, which solved that case. So thus was the first case where anonymity, a reward, and those kind of things happened. 40 years ago, we didn't have video like we do today. You and I both get sent video cases. When I leave here today, I'm going to get videotaped driving through an intersection. So we have video everywhere. Your life is on tape now.
Yes.
But 40 years ago, that wasn't the case.
No.
And so they were doing reenactments, and Crime Line was even doing them. They were horrible. It's funny to laugh at them now because we used really bad cop actors, horrible props. But in the day, that was the thing. People would wait to see what the Crime Line reenactment is. Today, not so much because we have live video of shootings, and it's incredible what we get on video today. But back to Crime Line. So when Albuquerque did this, Orlando Police Department, City of Orlando, sent someone to Albuquerque to study it, to look, a guy from UCF, and brought it back to Orlando, and they're like, oh, we got to do this.
That was quite a commitment from Orlando.
Oh, absolutely. And the original commitment was just to the City of Orlando. And so we were called Crime Watch initially. And a couple years later, it then was renamed to be Crime Line. So we're in our 39th year, coming up on our 40th anniversary. And we like to say, we're one of the oldest programs, established programs in the country. You have to be a nonprofit. That's part of best practice. And we've come a long ways. I tell people, we're taking as many tips as Atlanta. We take as many tips as Toronto, and Toronto has 8 million people living in it. But the reason for that, again, I come back to the fact, 40 years, we have never identified a tipster. We do what we say we're going to do. We will pay our rewards, and we keep them anonymous.
And also with the media market that you have in the large metro area of Orlando, you do a weekly show on one of the top rated radio shows over there.
We do.
And you do all kinds of innovative things and just out there, and people love Detective Barb.
They do. It's become a personality of its own. I can't go grocery shopping anymore and have a conversation with somebody without the local grocery guy following me around. He'll follow me a couple aisles and he'll finally go, are you Detective Barb? And I'm like, yes. And so you're shaking hands. But here's the thing. Local radio, which is Real Radio 104.1, they took our tips, and I believe this. When we started with them about 9 years ago, maybe 10 now, we were at about 4,000, a little over 4,000 tips a year. Within a year and a half, we saw a spike to 7,000, 8,000. And now we are consistently at between 11,000 and 12,000 tips a year. We also have a free TV show, a free segment that we get with Fox TV. And they just came to us and said, we want you to do, look at me, this personality, you called me Grady just a minute ago. I don't shut up about it. But the fact is, I like talking about it, so Fox gives us a free segment, and we have actually done a couple of your cases where we focus on them, and we get pretty good attention to them.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all the help that you have done for that. It's just amazing, just the simple concept of, hey, stay anonymous, call us, and help solve crime.
Yeah, and anonymity. I don't know if you're calling me from Australia or standing next to me. We don't know. I don't know if you're texting me or web tipping me or something from in the same room I'm in or in China. We don't have any of that information. So that promise is firm and held fast to. We will not identify you.
Now, there are challenges all the time. I know we've gone back and forth on getting subpoenas to go to court to produce the tip. As a matter of fact, I think we have a video that maybe we'll be able to plug in showing one of the directors, Dick Maston, down in South Florida, in court actually eating the tip. The judge had said to bring it to court. He brought it to court and he wouldn't give it to the judge. It got kind of sideways from there, and he was getting ready to be held in contempt. He knew if he was held in contempt, his property would be inventoried, they would have the tip, and there's actually video of him, you can see it, ripping it up and just eating the paper. Which really goes to show the commitment that Crime Stoppers has to making sure that these tipsters remain anonymous. It's highly important.
Now, my board's warned me not to be eating tips. But we are all committed to that. And there is case law across the country. There's actually some states that have state statutes that protect the tips themselves. We're going to be looking at that with the Florida Association of Crime Stoppers on the national level. We're trying to look at it. It's a little harder to have the feds tell states what they can and can't do with documents like that, especially here in Florida.
Yes.
But it'll take us a couple of years to get the momentum and get the political support that we need in order to get that passed. But it's one of the things that we need to focus on is the protection of the tip itself so that we don't ever have to be put in that situation again.
I know one of the things that Crime Stoppers USA they have an on-staff attorney, a retired judge, Judge Richard Carter, who has been, I've used him several times to call and ask, what cases I can use, for getting subpoenas to bring stuff to court. And updates on best practices and that's one of the advantages of being plugged into that national network, because you have all these different states and all these personalities and experts to draw from.
Right. And one of the things that's also one of my responsibilities is we're now doing monthly teleconference training. We did tax responsibilities 2 months ago. This last month we did law enforcement coordinator training, and this month in May, hopefully by the end of the month, we'll be putting together a course for board members, how to build your board. We're all nonprofits and we have to have responsible people sitting on the board of directors, and you have to kind of get away from the good old boy syndrome, if you will, and having your friends there and people never leaving the board. There's a lot of best practices that are out there that a board needs to be held to, because at the end of the day, as a nonprofit, the board is responsible for the program. They can have executive directors like yourself or I, but the board is the people signing that document.
Signing the checks and approving the disbursements and approving the expenditures and paying the bills, and it's just a big teamwork effort. It takes a lot of teamwork on that.
And boards are interesting. We're lucky we have some major corporations that sit on our board, which brings the whole community together. I also have retired people who just want to be a part of it. So the composition of your board can be very important. They have to want to be involved. They have to want to be active. We try to avoid those resume builders. Being honest, I don't want somebody who's just wanting to put my name on their resume. I want you to care about it. I want you to get involved. I want you to actively ask questions, actively be involved, and we do some crazy fundraisers, as you know. So I want my board out there and being a part of that.
Yeah, again, as I found on my board, having that support and having their leadership, because we have experts in other fields, especially in finance, that help us, to make sure that we do things above board and there's no issues, because again, as a 501c3, you have to have so many forms that you have to have and certifications. That if you don't have your updated IRS information, and we've seen the issues of other programs have had, and it's just the experience that as Crime Stoppers we're able to share with other organizations.
Absolutely. I actually have other nonprofits that call us and say, hey, how are you doing this? Or Chip, some of the crazy fundraisers we do. I have people from across the country call me almost weekly saying, so how'd you do this and how'd you do that? And why were you ziplining across a zoo in a tutu? and just, some weird things that I've done through my many years at Crimes Line.
Well, Barb, we're out of time for the show today. Thank you so much for coming over from Orlando and helping us out, and wish you the best of luck with your upcoming conference in Albuquerque, and I'll be seeing you there again, I'm sure.
Good. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
For more information about Crime Stoppers USA, you can go to www.crimestoppersusa.org. That's going to do it for this edition of Crime Stoppers. Keep in mind, Heartland Crime Stoppers is an organization that helps law enforcement solve crimes through anonymous tips and monetary rewards. It encourages a cooperative partnership between law enforcement, the media, and the community to ensure security and enhance our quality of life within Polk County. For more information, you can check us out on the web at heartlandcrimestoppers.com or follow us on Facebook at Heartland Crime Stoppers Florida. Until next time, keep in mind, it's a crime and you can help make sure they don't get away with it.